So we just want to say a bit more about ourselves so you'll understand who we are and the place we're coming from. So my background is in IT, started as a software developer, so that's where I started out. If you want to think about approaching emotions, I often spent a lot of my life like Dr. Sheldon Cooper from Big Bang Theory, so like not really the most emotionally able person. Keynote speaker around the world. Really what Audree and I do is culture and leadership training and consulting worldwide. It's like within the Agile space, but how to create these contexts where Agile can actually work. 7 years ago now, I wrote this book, An Agile Adoption and Transformational Survival Guide. And part of this is about how do we move more towards this Agile as a culture system, Agile as a mindset. What does it really take to be there and go there? Audree?
Hi, I consider myself, I guess I made up the name. I'm a conscious leadership coach and trainer because it's great, Agile community, that's what you do here. So, but what does it really mean? And my background is in personal growth and transformation. In 2001, I graduated from a world-renowned school called the Barbara Brennan College of Healing. And what that is, it's a school about healing on a physiological level and a psychological level. So it's energetic healing. If anybody's ever heard of like Reiki or something like that, it's like that, but it goes a little bit deeper. So I was trained to work with a medical team, and I was a member of a medical team working with people with very serious illnesses and working on healing them on a physical level and also on an emotional or a psychological level. And what I started to find out was that a lot of the lack of well-being in a person stems from how we live our lives. And it turns out that most of the time, most of us spend our lives at work or thinking about work or going to work or something of that nature. And so I started to realize that we really needed to change the way we work in order to become healthier people and affecting how we live on this planet as a society. And so I actually somehow magically wound up in the Agile community. But I met Michael in India. We were studying for our own personal growth and transformation. We were studying at a school of consciousness. And Michael asked me to join his team, and I started coaching with him, and we're married, so there's a little bit more backstory to that. And I don't speak well in front of people. Like me standing up here and speaking is like very odd for me. I usually sit in the back of the room and I watch everything. And so what I find is that we are all people and we're all interconnected and we're all relating with each other. And how we show up in our daily lives in relationship with other people is an emotional experience. We're constantly getting triggered. We're constantly dealing with aches and pains and hurting each other and pleasing each other and making each other happy. And it really affects how we show up at work. And so we started writing this book together, and that's what we're going to be talking about today.
So let's just check in with this. How do emotions impact work? How do emotions impact work? So I'd like you to turn the person next to you, if you need to get into groups, or behind you, so find someone beside you, and just discuss for like 30 seconds each to share, how do emotions impact work, either in a good way or a negative way? So speak to the person beside you. Get into pairs or join a triad, find someone. How do emotions impact work? Okay, welcome back. So Audrey and I spend most of our time doing culture and leadership training and work through, especially through the certified agile leadership training that we have. And really what I'm going to give you is a download of what it takes to really create high performance, what high performance organizational systems using agile, what it really means to move to an agile mindset, what we're really talking about with this. And then we're going to use that as the segue into emotions. So you have a deeper understanding, you have a clarity around why it is so critical to look at emotions. So at one meetup in Washington, I asked the word, what describes our behavior when we're being agile? This is what some people said, right? Flexible, open, trust. So the thing is, like, how do we show up that way, and how do our emotions block us from showing up with an agile mindset? We know that agile mindset is the key part of, we need the doing agile, the being agile, that the agile mindset is part of the secret to high performance. How do we actually show up in that way? And emotions are a very important part of the key. So has anyone read this book, Reinventing Organizations? Right? It talks about this notion of teal, or moving away from business usual. Has anyone read this, First Break All the Rules, about using Gallup's engagement survey? All right, this is super important things about case studies for what it takes to get high levels of performance. What it takes, and understanding that every boss, how successful everyone reporting them will be is based on how they show up, right? Based essentially on their emotional state. If they're able to help everyone show up like a leader around them, they have an amazing team that gets amazing results. So every person, whether you're a coach, whether you're a scrum master, whether you're a manager, how we individually show up, this is the research around this from both these books, how we show up as a leader has a direct impact on the performance of our team or organization. I'm not going to go into the details of this here. And I just want to remind you of Agile. Agile is all about people over process. That's what Agile is fundamentally about. The first line of the manifesto, individuals and interactions over process and tools. So we're just reminding you, Agile is about people. Like newsflash. Okay, well, if it's about people, how are people functioning? Well, newsflash, it's about their emotions. When people are emotionally clear, they perform better. Really simple math. So how do we create environments where we perform better? Well, it starts with we need to understand how our emotions work. I'll give you a quote from Frederick Laloux from Reinventing Organizations. There's a very famous book. In teal, this is this high performance way of working. Obstacles are seen as life's way to teach us about ourselves and about the world. We are ready, and you see emotions coming in here, ready to let go of anger, shame, and blame, which are useful shields for the ego, but are poor teachers for the soul. We embrace the possibility that we played a part in creating the problem and inquire what we can learn so we can grow from it. This is very important. We look at how we played a part in creating the problem. Once we do that, we can discover how we're the problem and how we can be the solution. Without authority, without budget, without permission. We can be the change that we want to see when we follow this way of working. This is what we see. A lot of people are pursuing the thing of, how do I create a teal organization? It's actually really simple. You just start showing up like a teal leader. You just start showing up like a teal leader, and you will have your teal organization. At least maybe just for you individually, and then for the people who see how you're showing up are invited and attracted to showing up that way themselves. And start showing up that way. So if you ever were surfing through this myth, this is actually the short answer. We're actually giving you the code for how to do that, is to shift your own behavior. Anyone know holacracy? Holacracy often misses the point. People try to use it, copy the structures, it doesn't work. But the intention behind holacracy is brilliant. This is what the founder says. If you go back to the intention of it, it's brilliant. All of holacracy meeting structures are designed to shine a light on our own stuff, our projections, our ego, to make it just visible, clear and transparent, not to judge it, but to let it naturally dissolve. This is the intention behind holacracy. When we use it from this way of being, this mindset, this openness to looking at our emotions and what's happening, we can actually create incredible value from it. When you use it just as a mechanical thing, it's absolutely useless. But when used with the right mindset, when it's appropriate for a context, it's incredibly powerful. I'm just going to go through a couple of examples to situate why we want to care about emotions, right? These are all amazing places if you want to create high-performance organizations to go into in more detail. If you know this book, Joy at Work, this is one of the case studies in Reinventing Organizations. It talks about when we start giving away power, which requires trust, safety, and so on, we actually create amazing outcomes. Or this book, Delivering Happiness by Zappos, which talks about the power we get when we care about the people who work at our organizations. All right, what else? Has anyone heard of Ricardo Semler or Semco? This is a Brazilian case study of an organization that had more than 20% growth for more than 2 decades. Why? Because all the leader wants to do is find out how he can create a place where people want to come to work, where people have a place at their workplace to do what they're best at doing. It's a very simple formula. Create a place where people actually want to come to work, right? So what it takes for us as leaders to show up that way is we need to be emotionally well-regulated so we can create an environment where other people can grow. This is how we tie back into emotions. Anyone heard of this Google survey, Project Aristotle? Psychological safety is the most important thing for high performance. Psychological safety. I won't go into all the neuroscience, we do that in our other courses. Like, the basic thing to understand here is that starting with ourselves, are we feeling psychologically safe? If we're not feeling psychologically safe, it means there's some sort of disruption in our emotional system. So our invitation to you, if you want to feel a high level of psychological safety, so you personally have high performance, so you can have other people have high psychological safety, so you can get high performance, it all comes back to look to emotions, and starting with your own emotions, and what's taking you out of a state where you're feeling psychologically safe. Because if you're feeling fully psychologically safe, you're feeling comfortable, you're feeling confident, everyone around you is going to feel really good because you're cool, right? You're in a good place. People will be able to pick that up. So working on your emotions is how to create this. I'll go through another couple. I'm just giving you some of these you'll have seen before. Hopefully, if you've done a lot of work and you're really interested in creating high performance, you'll know all of these. But theory X, theory Y. Who's heard of this? Theory X, theory Y? Right? If we look at theory Y, high performance, this way of working, people who are able to operate this way are emotionally well-regulated. Right? It's not possible to operate this way if we're getting angry all the time, or we're getting frustrated all the time. When we start getting those negative emotions, those disturbances, those emotional disturbances, that's what takes us into theory X. So whether you personally can show up at work every day as theory Y is limited by your emotional system and your emotional intelligence, your emotional regulation. This is how you, through taking control of your emotions, can show up more as theory Y. If you show up more as theory Y every day, you will get promoted, you will have greater impact. It's that simple. Everyone here is intelligent, everyone here has a lot of skills and capability. That is not the limiting factor. The limiting factor is emotional intelligence, and you can shift it. And we're going to unpack how. One more thing is, who's heard of engagement surveys, engagement results? Right? So essentially, I won't go into the details of this, but essentially we take every employee and we rank them from the most engaged worker over here to the most disengaged worker over here. What we typically see in organizations is there's some people who are highly engaged, some people who are partly engaged, and a lot of people who are just in pain and really just checked out, right? Like, this spot is very bad. Do I have the tools and equipment I need to do my job? Neutral. Do I know what's expected of me at work? Neutral. Like, this is not a good place. This is not a good place, right? So this is what's going on in our companies. So these people are actually in a lot of suffering, right? So our job is to help people get into a place where they're engaged, they're working, they're emotionally well-regulated, and so on, right? This is what we can do, is that when we're in a healthy place emotionally, we can get greater economic results, and we can create places where people really want to work. So that's the preamble. That's the preamble to say, why do we want to care about emotions? I gave you model after model after model that ties in with why it's so important to understand emotions. So let's get started. I'd like you to stand up, get into groups of 3, meet someone new, introduce yourselves, because this is a meet up. So you get to meet up with new people, okay? So stand up, get into groups of 3, meet new people, and discuss this. How do my emotions work? Where do I feel them? Okay. How many noticed that there were sort of where you felt them somewhere in your body? Raise up your hand if you notice you have feelings somewhere in your body. Okay, all right, great. Yeah, all right. Is there anybody who feels like there's nothing left for them to unpack around emotions? They're already at a 10. Is there anyone here that a 10 for understanding how well emotions work? No takers? I think there's still more for me to learn. I'm not sure I'm there. It's a journey. It's a journey. So we're going to do this thing called what I call the happy memory experiment. So instead of me telling you how your emotions work, you're going to discover this for yourself through a series of experiments. So we're going to invite you to become an experimental scientist to do your own investigation, and we'll do a debrief afterwards, of course, to help you understand what it is you're experiencing. So the first step is this. To do this experiment, you need to put everything down and put your feet flat on the floor. This is, of course, optional. So if you don't feel comfortable doing this, you don't have to do this. But this is the exercise. So put everything down, sit up straight, and then close your eyes. And what I'd like you to do is to think of a happy memory. Think of a time when you were feeling a very high level of happiness or joy. And just really sink into that experience. And notice what it feels like in your body as you're remembering that memory. As you're recalling that experience. Just notice what the physical sensations are in your body. And take a deep breath in and out. And then you come back to the room, to the here and now. So congratulations. You've just finished your first experiment of how your emotions work. Put up your hand if you're able to recall a happy memory. Yeah? Okay, keep your hand in the air if it felt good inside your body. Yeah? Okay. Now put your hand on where you felt it. Just look around. Yeah, look around. People felt it in different places. Just notice that. Okay, all right. Let me just check in here. I just want to check, what was making you feel that feeling in your body? Was it me? Because, Audrey and I are here and it's such an amazing experience, you started feeling that way? No, you're laughing at me, right? You know that's not true. What is it that created the feeling in your body? The thought. It was that memory. Right? So that's the part of the secret to unraveling how our emotional system works. It wasn't, what's happening here in the room right now that created that feeling in your body. It was actually the memory. When you started connecting with a memory, you felt, and put up your hand if that feeling, it felt like you were feeling that feeling, that thing right, as if it were happening right now. Do you want to feel like that feeling inside your body right now? You're feeling this physical sensation in your body right now? Yeah, everyone said I got this physical sensation right now. I asked you this question, right? So here's the magic. Here's the first part of unlocking your emotions. This is super important. This is the secret. And once we take the secret in, it unravels our whole understanding of reality. This is how profound it is. There's a happy memory, right? And you're feeling it now. Everyone was feeling it, right? Everyone was feeling the physical sensation in your body right now. And everyone knows the memories from the past. You guys know that, right? It's not what's happening now that's giving you that feeling. It's the past. Remembering the past brings it into your body. But it feels like it's happening now. It's the memories from the past, but it feels like it's happening right now. This is the news line at the bottom here. Our emotional system cannot tell time. We have something called recall memory. Our recall memory system can tell time. This is the past, this is now, this is the future. If you can't do that, you're locked up, right? But you need to be able to tell that. We can all tell that. But what's called our autonomous nervous system, our emotional system that stores memories, it cannot tell time. It can't tell the difference between the past, the present, and the future. When you brought in that memory, it felt like it was happening right now in your body. That's what we just discovered through this happy memory experiment. So, let's continue. What happens when life hits us? So we talked about happy memories, but things aren't always like happy, right? Well, what happens is something happens, there are thoughts, there are feelings, right? There's challenge going on, right? That's what happened when life hits us, right? We get angry, we get frustrated, there's something goes on inside of us. So, it's funny, there's no exercise here. So we're actually going to go unpack this. We're actually going to unpack this. So, has anyone ever seen someone doing something really strange? Like where they're in some sort of situation, they have this what's called an emotional overreaction or emotional hijack. Anyone ever seen that? Someone having a strong emotional reaction that doesn't seem to quite make sense, right? And then they, based on that, they cause damage around them. Just put your hand. We're not asking you to put your hand here because I already know the answer. Just reflect on where you sometimes have that happen with you. Where you sometimes have that happen with you. Where you have an emotional reaction. It's sort of ordinary stuff, but then suddenly you're in that place where you realize afterwards that you just did a bunch of stuff that wasn't so healthy. You got angry, you got upset, you acted out of anger, and so on. Yeah, I'm seeing some nods here, right? So we all know this happens to us. Now, what I'd like you to do is just think of a situation. Just think of a situation where something happens that's not so good, and just think about how that feels inside. Just imagine a difficult situation where you felt challenged by life, where you started to go into anger, frustration, and so on. Just think of it. Think of that situation. Either with your eyes open or closed. Okay. Now, what I'll ask you to do is, did anyone notice any physical sensations in your body? Yeah. It turns out our emotional system works the same, whether they're sort of happy emotions or good emotions, we label them, or they're these challenging ones. Our emotional system just has stuff that happens. Some we label good, some we label bad, some we judge, and so on. But our emotional system just has physical sensations. And we like certain ones, we don't like certain other ones. Now what I'd like you to do is just notice, and this is how we can check, is we can do this 1 to 10 test. There's 2 questions. This is how we unpack our emotions when we're in challenge situations. We go, well, how intense is the feeling from 1 to 10? So just think, what did it feel like in your body? And the other question that goes with it is was your life in danger? 10 means, you're about to die. 1 means that you're actually in a room, you're safe, your life is not in danger, right? Now, what I'd like you to do is think about other people. Forget about yourself for a moment. Just think about other people. Have you ever seen someone react with a very intense feeling when they were not in danger? Put up your hand if you've seen that. You've seen someone have a strong emotional reaction even when they were not in danger. Like sometimes it happens with politics. Anyone ever seen that with politics? Or other views about life, where people can get very, very emotionally engaged, let's call it that, even when their life's not in danger, right? So there's this discrepancy. Now think about yourself. Does it ever happen to you that you're in this place where you have this emotional response, and your emotional response is like this, but your life's not actually in danger? There's this discrepancy. Okay. So I'd like you to do this in pairs. So stand up, get into pairs. I'm going to explain it first, then you'll go. In pairs, you're going to discuss, why don't our actions match the situation? Right? We've got a puzzle. We know this happens with other people. We know this happens with us. So I'm going to ask you to stand up and get into pairs and discuss, why don't our actions match the situation? Why do we respond as if our life is in danger when our life is actually not in danger? What's going on there? So stand up, meet someone new, introduce yourself. This is a meetup. So meet someone new, and then discuss this in pairs. So anyone have an answer? Why don't our actions match? What's that?
Other memories that you put into the situation, body's joining up other light patterns or something.
Something's getting pulled in, sorry?
Other memories.
Other memories are getting pulled in, right? So you're saying, well, we know with happy memories, when we're feeling that, we feel good. So some other memory is getting pulled in, and we're feeling some sort of negative emotion, right? Okay. Other answers?
There's a mismatch between what you perceive as the reality and perhaps how someone reacts to that. And then what you suddenly feel, well, that wasn't what I thought, and then your emotions start to kick in. They're different.
Okay, great. Thank you. Yeah, okay. Yeah, thank you.
I think if you normally don't express your emotions, suddenly one day you can overreact and doesn't match the situation.
Okay, thank you.
I think the feelings and thoughts are running on different parts, different systems of the brain. So there's the ancient response, the feelings, the modern pre-cortex that does the post-rationalization.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you.
No, I'm sorry, I have a question. How to fix it? Because I now realized I'm extremely dumb.
Okay.
I get stressed by work where I'm completely not in danger at work.
Let me shake your hand. You're normal. Thank you. Thank you. You're normal. Happens to me too.
Yes, but the only way where I had two bike accidents this year, I had two.
Yeah.
This is the only moment in my life when I'm in danger, but I'm completely not bothered.
Yeah.
Like not at all. I'm
Great.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
How can I be so stupid and how to fix it?
Yeah, we're gonna get to what do we do about it. We need to make sure we understand how our nervous system works before we can talk about what to do with that situation. So I'll take one or two more shares. I'm really enjoying the shares. It's not that it's just that I want to make sure we get to the what do we do about it part. So we'll have like this lady here.
So it's the meaning that you're citing to the situation that you're reacting to.
Okay, it's the meaning. So we make meaning of the situation, and then that's the response. Actually, we'll actually have these last two. Sorry, so let's start here.
So I will say that it can be also the opposite. So if you go, like the people that go to the mountains, they sometimes can be in a very high danger, but their emotions are too low, and this is why they die.
Okay.
Because they don't unsee. This
Right.
they
Right.
don't assess
Okay.
it. So you could actually go the other way.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Like your sort of your base level of where you are before something happens, you already fill up with emotion, and then that last thing is just like.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So the question is, well, what model, what way of understanding reality will help us in our life that actually reflects how our nervous system is working? That's what we're going for. How does our nervous system actually work? It turns out we actually already have the answer. We just need to put the puzzle pieces together. Someone already said here what it is. Put the puzzle pieces together. Let's just start reviewing the facts. Do we have this here? Psychological safety. What do I want to talk about? Yeah, really, ultimately, we're talking about if we have psychological safety, this characteristic of high performance. Are we going to go here? Are we going to have these intense emotional reactions? No, because we feel psychologically safe and psychologically secure. So somehow we know that if during our day we're getting angry, frustrated, we're having the emotional reactions, we are not actually operating in a high performance way. So just think about your day. How many times something happens to take you out of this, where you feel frustrated, you feel angry, you feel an emotional charge? That's a characteristic. That's kind of like your emotional diet for the day. If your emotional diet is really clean, you're like in a really positive, energized state and nothing disturbs you, and you have a high level of psychological safety, you're in high performance all day long. If you're normal like me and most people, it's like disturbance, 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 right? And then like, okay, breathe, like, okay, something good happened. Then, we go up and down all day long, right? In and out of emotional disturbance. That's our typical diet. So our invitation for you is to become aware of that and understand that is what's keeping you trapped in your level of performance. And by taking control of your emotions and regulating yourself, increasing your emotional intelligence, we could call it that, you will actually unlock high performance for yourself. You don't need to learn a new skill. You just need to become more emotionally well-regulated, right? We say emotional performance is IQ which everyone here has, plus EQ, right? The IQ, well, we're kind of stuck the way we are, right? But EQ, we can do something about this. We can fully shift this. So the news item is, guess what? Your emotional system works the same way for positive emotions as for negative emotions, right? So if we look at it from that perspective, why would we be feeling emotionally upset right now when something happens? Well, the only way we can really feel emotionally upset is when a negative memory from the past is showing up right now. Right, but say, wait a second, like how does this actually work? Like I'm not aware of any negative memory happening. I'm frustrated with this person in front of me, or the person who cut me off for driving, or whatever it is, right? So how do we understand this? Well, the happy memory, let's remind ourselves, when we think of a happy memory, we know it's from the past, but it feels like it's happening right now. That's how it works there. So our emotional system can't tell time. So if our emotional system can't tell time for negative emotions, what does that look like? Well, something happens. Now, this is where it gets tricky. Our thoughts are about now. And as one gentleman said, our mind is this pattern matching machine. It matches a memory from the past. Hey, what is this situation now like? Oh, it's like this memory from the past. And we pull in this memory from the past, which has this emotional charge to it, and we go, ugh, and we have this strong emotional reaction right here. So that's what's going on. Now, why aren't we aware of this? Because what does our mind do? Well, our mind, our unconscious, is designed to protect us. So guess what happens? Does it feel good to have all those bad memories floating around in our constant awareness? No, it feels terrible. So what our unconscious does is it says, I'll hide these from you. I got it, I'll hide these from you. So we don't have any cognitive awareness of these emotions. All we have that's left is the feeling. Because our cognitive system can hide the information, but our physiological system can't tell time. So if our unconscious is thinking about this negative memory, right, and we're not even aware of it, just because it matches this situation, it feels like it's happening in our body right now. That's funny. I thought there was, yeah. Okay, so let's go through this. So let's get into what do we do about this, right? So we can't change this. This is just a fact, right? This is what we usually do. Something happens in the world right now. We match a pattern. It brings up an emotional wound, and it feels like it's happening right now. So we cause damage in the external world by taking action on that emotional charge. We take action. So we never ever want to be in this place where we're taking action from this emotional charge, because it only will create damage. So can we get the handout for the emotional freedom system? I don't know where that is. It's over here. Yeah, okay. So Audrey's going to pass this out. If you just take every person, just pass it down your row as you get it. What we're going to do with this is go through this checklist. And we're going to give you two different things. We're going to give you two different things. We're going to give you a cognitive way, an intellectual way to start shifting what's happening with your emotions. That's number one. Number two, we're going to give you a way to hack your emotional system, to get clear of the emotional charge. So we're going to give you two different approaches. Depending on what happens in real life, you may use one, you may use both. If someone has a handout, that'd be great. Then I can read along with you. Thanks. Okay. Okay. So what we're going to do is go through this together. I'll explain it step by step. It's very, very simple. All you need to do is, now step one, stop and notice the negative emotion. Stop and notice the negative emotion. So you just say, oh, I've got this negative emotion right now. I'm feeling really frustrated. I'm feeling really angry. I'm feeling really, annoyed. I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling whatever I'm really afraid. Whatever the feeling is, just notice that it's there. Step one. Step two, observe the physical sensation. It's very simple. It's like, oh, well, emotions are stored in my body. Let me just close my eyes. Where am I feeling this right now? Actually, as I'm going through this, what I'd like you to do is pick something that's disturbed you today or in the last week, something where it brought up an emotional charge. And as we're going through this, I'd like you to just walk through the checklist for this, okay? So just pick something in your mind, and as we're going, go through the checklist. So just stop and notice the negative emotion, right? So you got something? All right. Observe the physical sensation. So usually it helps to close your eyes. You might want to just close your eyes and say, where am I feeling this in my body? And even just put your hand on it. Just acknowledge it. Like, just know you're safe here in the room. Like, you're okay. You know. All right, so just notice it. That's the second step. Now, the third step is this. Check to see if the emotional response makes sense. Check to see. When you think about that situation, pick a number from 1 to 10. How strong is the emotional response? Like, if you think about that situation, how strong is the emotional response? Yeah. And then look at it rationally. From 1 to 10, is your life in danger? Most of these strong emotional reactions we have are when we're sitting at home, we're at the office, and we're actually perfectly safe. But it feels like the strong thing is happening and like, oh my God, the world's ending, right? That's what it feels like many times a day for most of us. So that's the third step. The fourth step is this. Accept that it is an emotion from the past. Say, look, I'm feeling the strong emotional reaction in my body. Oh my gosh, it's this person. They're doing, oh, wait a second. It's not about what's happening right now. It's actually an emotion from the past that I'm experiencing right now. It's not about the current situation. Yeah, I'm just doing this. I'm just matching a pattern that's bringing up an emotional wound, a memory from the past that has emotional charge to it. That's all that's going on right now. The next step is really important. Stop trying to change the present. If there's somebody that is causing you a disturbance or a situation, it's actually not that situation. There's nothing you can do at the present moment to fix that because it's not getting caused by the present moment. Let me give you an example. Let's say Audree says something to me. She's giving me some feedback saying, hey, Michael, you just did this. Right? Maybe I did something that wasn't very useful or I did an unproductive behavior or something like that. She's just telling me, give me some information. And like, even though I want to learn and grow, right, I'll be like, what? Right? Like, it's going to bring up a charge, possibly, right?
I probably won't say it kindly.
Yeah.
Nobody gives you feedback.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is like, right, we know we need feedback to grow, but somehow we often have a charge around that, right? It doesn't feel comfortable. Well, why is that? Like, am I safe right now with Audree? Like, is my life in danger? Is she going to kill me right now? Does she have a gun? Do you have a gun? No, there's no gun here. There's no knife. My life's not in danger, but it feels like, oh, what did I do, right? Like why? Because sometime in my past, maybe when I was 2, maybe when I was 3, something happened that reminds me of the situation where somebody, my caregiver, gave me some feedback when I was very young. Right? That's what it's bringing us back to, right? So essentially what's happening is in this moment where we're getting this situation, we're regressing from the age we are now to the age we are when the emotional wound happened. That's why the step, stop trying to change the present moment, is so critical. Because if, like really, how good am I going to be responding from the place of a 2-year-old? Or a 3-year-old or a 5-year-old? Not very effective. Just think about the situations you've been in where someone's emotionally reacting. Were they acting like an adult? No, they were acting like how old? 3. Yeah. This is the truth of it. Like, you guys know this. You've seen this again and again. You've seen this your whole life. We're just unpacking all the experience you've already had and go like, oh my gosh, it makes so much sense now. So when someone's in an emotional reaction, they're acting like a 3-year-old or a 5-year-old, like, there's nothing you can do about that other than like give them space and let them calm down, right? Because it's not about right now trying to convince them, trying to use logic. It's not going to do any good because they're in this emotional charge, right? So you want to say something?
Yeah, so what I'm going to say here is think about something that happened at work. Like say you have a boss or there's an executive that is you're really, really angry at. You're so frustrated. And we tend to think, oh, it's that person, they're doing something. But if you really take a look at how you're reacting inside, are you resourced enough to have an intelligent response to this person. And the chances are no, not when you're frustrated, not when you're angry, not when you're blaming them, not when you're looking at that person and having so much anger and frustration. It just doesn't compute in our being that we're going to show up as a responsible adult. And so this is what we're talking about here.
Yeah. Let me add on to that. Like, just think about your work situation or your home situation. Is there anybody you feel frustrated about at all? Annoyed about? That they're not doing what you want them to do, they're resisting, they're not on board? Anyone have anything like that? And you start, when you think about it, you notice the feeling in your body. You notice that it's triggering a memory and there's some sort of emotion coming in. When you think about it, think about that person who's blocking you at work from creating what you want to create. Like for me, that's like, whoa, I'm like way up there on my scale for how strong an emotional response that is, right? So in that situation, when you're in that emotional situation with that person, how helpful are you with that person? Nothing. You can only cause damage. What we're giving you is an extremely powerful tool to see how every day you're causing damage all around you, again and again and again. Not because you're bad, not because you're broken, but because you are normal. Our life, we have not been equipped to understand how our emotions work. We have not been equipped to understand and take full responsibility of them, so we stop creating damage. And there's a question here.
So, emotions, so you experience this emotion.
Louder. I can't hear you.
I can't hear you.
Stand up. Loud. Use your leader voice.
So, are you saying the emotion from the past is related? Is it something that the emotion that you're feeling now, and you're feeling this dread or whatever, is it a related emotion from the past that triggers it? Or
Yes.
some random thing?
No, it matches. It's exactly this. If something happens, our brains are pattern matching machines. Something happens right now, Audrey gives me feedback. I match it. Say, wait, when did I ever get feedback in my life? Like, this is what my unconscious memory does. I have no conscious awareness of this. But my mom is going to say, well, when did you get feedback? This is kind of like when you were, 2 years old. And your mom was going blah, 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 right? And you felt this way. And then that emotional memory, the feeling of being 2 years old and being told what to do and not feeling good about it, comes into my body right now. And I'm going to like listen to what she's saying. And I'm like, I'm safe here, right? It's okay. Cognitively, she's just giving me some information to help me grow. This should be amazing. It should be like, oh, thank you so much. Thank you for giving me this information to help you grow. That's amazing. I'm so grateful. But that's not what happens. What happens is because it matches a pattern when I was 2 years old, my unconscious, as it matches this thing, brings in that memory of 2 years old. I don't have any conscious awareness of it because it's an unconscious, suppressed memory. This is why it's so sneaky, because they say, well, I don't have any memory of these negative emotions coming in. Yeah, I know you don't. We don't. I mean, if you really pay attention, you might say, well, what does this feeling feel like? What does that remind me of? And if you actually go into the feeling and get to remember, what did it feel like? When was the first time you experienced that? You can go back to it. But we're not inviting you to do that. That's like, it's not really about...
That's therapy.
Yeah, that's therapy. Like, it's not about solving the past. There's nothing in the past that's wrong. What the problem is that we're carrying the past inside of ourselves, and we're not really conscious of that. All we have to do, this is why it's so simple what we're giving you, is pay attention to when does an emotional disturbance hit me? And notice it's happening and use this checklist to stop causing damage right now. Right? So you don't need to fix yourself. You just need to stop responding to it when it happens.
It's not necessarily
Yeah.
causing damage.
Usually
it's
it does.
just responding
When we do something.
in a healthy way.
Yeah.
It affects our ability to respond in a healthy way.
Yeah. Awesome. So I'm going to go to the
You're
next step.
such a charge.
Yeah. So the next step is stop reacting from the emotional wound. Right? So when we do that, instead of being an emotional wound causing damage around us, when we stop reacting, suddenly we stop causing damage, which means our relationships no longer get worse. Right? Instead we say, oh, look, I'm really upset right now. I'm going to take a break. I'm going to take a time out. I really want to have this conversation with you, and right now I'm not in a state where I can be useful in this conversation. Please excuse me. Right? When we take maturity and we take responsibility for our emotions, our behavior, we can very gracefully give ourselves space and time to recover. I'll tell you a story. I was in the Apple store once, and I just bought some device. It was like this DVD player thing so I could watch movies with my kids and stuff. And like what was going on is it didn't work. It was like a $50 thing. So I'm like, okay guys, this isn't working, can I get another one? They go, oh, well you have to go through this repair process. I go, well, it's $50. Like, are you kidding me? Like, because I just wanted to watch the stuff. Otherwise I have to put it in, I have to wait, I've come back for like a $50 appliance, which should just be working. And it was pretty new. So like, I was like, really, I said, you know what? I've experienced a very high level of anger in my body right now. I'm really, really frustrated. It's not you. You're okay. You're doing your job. I understand that. But as a customer, I'm feeling an extremely high level of anger and frustration right now about this experience. And I know you're just following the rules. Like, you're not doing anything wrong. You're doing exactly what you're expected to do. But is there some way that you could connect with a manager or somebody who has the ability to make me happy right now? I'd really like that. Right? So I was really honest. I was saying, yeah, I'm really angry right now, because they could tell, right? I was like, steam was coming out and everything like that, but I was taking responsibility for it, and that's the best I could do in that moment. And they got to the manager, and the manager says, well, we're not supposed to do this, but we want you to be happy, so here you go, right? So I wasn't actually able to recover, but I was able to stop reacting in a negative way, and I was able to, even though I was angry, helps create safety for the person around me to get my outcome, which was getting this device.
Save the guy at the Genius Bar.
Yeah, save the guy at the Genius Bar. Like, because he didn't do anything wrong. It's not his fault that I got sold something that stopped working after a month. Like, that's not his fault, right? He's just doing his job. Why on earth would I cause him pain and suffering, right? But that's what we do inadvertently, right? And so that's where we're in meditation. That's how we start shifting through ourselves. We can start shifting the whole planet, everyone around us. Because if we stop causing harm, stop causing damage, that has a ripple effect on the world. And people will be really inspired and say, hey, I notice you're showing up this way. And they'll want to show up this way too. Hey, tell me what's going on with you. All right. So now we're going to do something else. How to get clear. So we talked about intellectually, what do you do? And this intellectual stuff, usually for me, I'll ask you to do your own experiments, it's usually good to get down a couple of notches. Like from an 8, I go, yeah, it's not happening right now, okay. And to prevent myself from causing damage, maybe I'll get down to a 6. Well, we want to give you something very practical you can use to really clear it out, so you can get to a really resource state. So we're going to do right now an exercise, and I'll turn it over to Audree for this part of it.
So first of all, we're running through a book that is in much more detail. There's much more detail to what we're doing, but we're giving you just a very high level, basic understanding of emotions and how they work. So just to let you know that it goes into more detail in the book, and there's actually exercises in the book to take you through so you can experiment with your own emotions to see how they work and discover them on your own. This book is not theoretical. We're not psychologists, so we're not taking you through some kind of like academic understanding of emotions. We're just taking you through really simple techniques, step by step, to understand what's happening within your own being. And so this is the way the book is set up. So right now I'm going to take you to the end of the book where we have an exercise to help you process your emotions very, very quickly. And when you get really good at this exercise, you'll be able to do it the moment that any kind of emotion or uncomfortable charged feeling in your body comes up. And so like I do this on a regular basis where I could be standing right here with Michael and be experiencing a charge in my body, and I already understand the process, and I just breathe a couple times and it's gone. But I've been doing this for many, many years, and I developed a technique, so I'm kind of almost an expert at it. I say almost because nobody, don't expect to be perfect at anything that we do like this, that it takes time, it takes practice, but mostly it just takes a willingness to want to change how you respond in situations. And I think if you have that willingness and that commitment to yourself and how you show up, that's all that really is required. And then getting good at it will happen over time. So this is a very basic technique. There's really only like 3 steps, I think, to it. And I'm going to take you through it. Can I have your paper for a moment? Sorry, there's 4 steps. So what I'm going to have you do is I'm going to have you put everything down, and I'm going to invite you to just sit up straight, you're with your feet flat on the floor. And I'm just going to take you into a light meditation. And that means that you're going to be breathing and then tuning into your body. So you can do this 2 ways. You can either have your eyes closed or you can have your eyes open. And if you have your eyes open, I just want you to find a spot on the floor in front of you that you can rest your gaze on that spot, so you can bring all your focus and all of your attention into your body. And just begin to breathe. Just relax, taking a few deep breaths in and out. Try to talk louder. Feeling your body sitting in the chair. Allowing your breath to relax your whole body. Just relaxing off all of the day. Feeling your feet on the floor. Feeling the feet on the floor, feeling yourself sitting in a chair actually brings you into your body. Feel the rise and fall of your chest. And now think of something that gives you an emotional reaction, a negative emotional reaction. We're looking for something that makes you frustrated, angry. It could be something that happened at work, situation that you have in relationship. It could be a personal experience or a situation where you're finding some fear. But allow yourself to bring up this situation that creates an emotional charge in your body. And then feel the uncomfortable feeling in your body. Pinpoint this area in your body that feels uncomfortable. When you think about this situation, think about the person, think about the problem. Breathe into this uncomfortable feeling in your body. Allow the uncomfortable feeling to become intense. All of your awareness goes to that place in your body that you're feeling the tension. And breathe into that area in your body. Just keep breathing into it. If you get distracted, just come back to the feeling, the sensation in your body. Allow the body sensation to intensify. As your awareness hones in on focusing on this area, it will start to become extremely uncomfortable. You're safe here. So allow yourself the opportunity to just focus all of your attention on this place and breathe into it. Keep breathing. There's no story to be had. Just focus on this sensation in your body. Breathe into it. Just keep breathing into it. Allow it to get uncomfortable. Even more uncomfortable. Even more uncomfortable. You're very safe here. Allow it to get even more uncomfortable. Keep breathing. Keep breathing. Keep breathing. Keep breathing. Take a very deep breath in to release the body sensation. Keep breathing. Keep breathing. Keep breathing. Allowing the breath, each breath that you take, to release the tension in your body. Keep breathing. Allowing the breath to release, again, the body sensation. Take a very deep breath in and out. Start focusing your breath on the rise and fall of your chest. Breathing in and out. Feeling your body sitting in the chair. Now check right now inside your level from 1 to 10. Go back to that experience, the situation, the person, 1 through 10. What is your sensation now in your body? Is it the same? Is it less? Is it more? Just becoming aware. Taking a deep breath in and out. And when you're ready, you may open your eyes, coming back to the room. Good, thank you. Thank you. Do you want to debrief or you want me to? So does anybody have any insights or an experience that they want to share? Can you say, I can't hear you.
Well, my breathing became shallow.
Yes.
Focusing shallow, and then when trying to concentrate on the emotions, like my mouth was clenched, looks tighter, just focusing on that emotion. So my emotion was
Yeah. So you were feeling it right here.
right here.
Yeah. And then as you were breathing, did it intensify?
Well, the breath, yes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it just everything just focuses. You have like on the tips, I'm doing it quite tighter. It's quite tight. Just focusing on the
Beautiful. Was there any moment where it started to lessen?
Sure. Once you started breathing deeply, like consciousness, awareness, it started.
Wonderful. So it started subsiding. And then when you went to check again on 1 through 10 at the end of the exercise, what was I didn't get the number in the beginning. I would imagine that it was, okay. But thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah. And yes?
I found that as I was going through it, I had to really concentrate a lot, otherwise my brain started going to sushi mode, and I started to try and say, almost rather than just letting go of the motion, okay, I'll do this to make it better, or, start to come up with ideas about how to push them away, carry on, to accept it, and then come back out.
Thank you. Yeah, the mind will actually come in and start to distract you with things like that, problem solving, solution solving. There's something about going into your body to fully release whatever the past thing happened, and the mind is taking you out of that positioning. It's a longer thing, but yeah. So that's why I say if you get distracted like that by your mind, to go back, just keep focusing, go back to the sensation in your body.
Yeah, actually, that's actually the way your mind is designed, is to seek pleasure, avoid pain. You guys may have noticed this in your life. You seek pleasure, you avoid pain. It turns out when you seek pleasure all the time, you avoid the pain. We just keep on recreating the pain again and again and again. So by deliberate practice, by choosing to go through the pain, we actually get to the other side and we break the pattern. So we stop creating pain again in our lives. So this is actually how to overcome the limitation in our mind, because the mind as we're given, as it's created for us, as we exist as human beings, is pretty defective that way, right? This default activity of seeking pleasure, avoiding pain, keeps us trapped in these negative emotions. Only by having awareness, by having choice to go through the pain, we actually create freedom and more of the life we want to create instead of being stuck in the past.
I resisted your encouraging us to feel to breathe it in, I know, but you kept insisting intensify and so on. I initially resisted that.
And then you broke down.
Couldn't understand why.
Yeah.
Well, I might now, but
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's wrap it up. Okay. So this is the news item here. You have a choice about how you live your life. You can create the reality that you want for yourself. When an emotional wound comes up, because you now have awareness, it takes you to this place of choice. You can continue, now that you're aware of this, you can continue, if you choose, to stay with the emotional wound and create damage around you. That's your choice. I mean, this is what our default, right? This is what we've been doing our whole lives. So anytime you make a choice for something different, you'll create better outcomes for you and for everyone around you. And the way to create a different outcome is to say, well, hey, I'm going to do something about this. I'm going to get clear. I'm going to take responsibility for my emotions. I'm going to stop responding from this place, from this emotional charge, this emotional wound. And when you do that, that's when you flow with life. Have you ever heard the Agile Manifesto? Respond to change instead of following a plan. When we're emotionally clear, we can just respond to change. It just works. When someone doesn't show up for a meeting, when the bill blows up, we just respond to change and we do what's needed to make everything okay. We react very calmly and we just flow with life. That's what it really means. If you look at the Agile Manifesto and what it's pointing to people who, to really live it, to live it in your own being, requires that you're emotionally clear. To collaborate with others, Agile is about collaboration, working with others. If we're not emotionally clear, our emotions get in the way of collaborating. Have you ever seen people doing these things? I'll go through some of these. Actually, I'll go through some of the traps you'll fall into. You'll see where your emotions get in the way. But coaching others. Step 1, put the oxygen mask on yourself first. Is get yourself into a resource place where you have no emotional charge. That's the very first step before you can actually help anyone else. And you're very interested to say, well, how do I help other people with their emotions? How do I, just first of all, master this yourself. And once you have self-mastery and you have your own emotional regulation going on, it's going to calm everyone else down. And then you'll be in a place where you can actually be present with them. Probably the biggest problem, I can tell you this for myself, when someone else, let's say Audrey's in an emotional disturbance, guess what happens to me? Do I just stay really calm? No. She does something, she says something, and I go, "Rrr," right? And she pulls me into her emotional disturbance. So that's our place, is that when other people are emotionally, this is my challenge, right? It's pretty normal. So when we're emotionally disturbed, right, we can't help anyone. So when people are emotionally disturbed, they're angry, they're frustrated, to just look in with ourselves. If someone's emotionally disturbed around you, check in with how you are. Instead of trying to say, oh, it's your emotions, blah, blah, blah. Instead of doing that, look inside at yourself and say, how am I feeling? Am I feeling 100% clear? Am I feeling like really good? Or is there some disturbance going on? If there's disturbance going on, that's the work you need to do first before you can help people in that situation. Do you want to think more about this?
Well, I did want to say that this practice in particular, obviously it's going to be very hard to do it in the moment. So like when I'm having this emotional charge and then I'm throwing out my emotional charge on Michael then has an emotional charge. And then he's not resourced enough to handle me, and I'm not resourced enough to handle myself, and there's a snowball effect that happens. So what we're recommending is that for 10 minutes out of every day, that you take some time to start working with your emotions just the way that I worked with you. And it's a 10-minute process only, where you become accustomed to charges or sensations in your body coming up and breathing through them. If you do it on a regular basis, then in the moment, you'll be resourced enough to be like, oh wow, I'm having this reaction. I could feel it in my body. You could take a couple breaths in and out, and you'll be much clearer. It's a practice. It's really a practice. And then you become masterful at it, and then you don't create, or you respond in a healthy way. You don't create damage.
Yeah, so I'll just share a few more things that we go through in detail in the book, which is like, what we're actually giving you is the emotional freedom system. We've given you the checklist. We've gone through that. There's more details in the book. Get clear exercise, the daily practice Audrey's talking about. And there are also these traps, these other awareness things, which we go into more detail. You've probably seen these. Have you ever seen this one, where you get stuck in these looping thoughts? You're thinking about something again and again and again, some problem in your life. Anyone ever have this? That's because there's an emotional wound fueling that. So the way to break it is just say, oh, well, what am I feeling in my body? And then you get to the wound, you can use Get Clear, you can get free of it. There's another one, caught in a story. Have you ever seen yourself or anyone else caught in a story? They did this, blah, 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 blah. If that's going on, sometimes this happens also through venting. Anyone ever see venting behavior? There's an emotional charge there. Venting doesn't relieve the emotional charge. It just gives us some personal relief for the moment, but it doesn't actually address the challenge.
Or you get to bring somebody else into your story.
Yeah, and you get to spread the malaise. This is all ways we cause damage, right? The other one is arguing. Has anyone ever seen arguing in your workplace? Anyone ever seen that? Coding standards in software development, yeah? Right? Or what do we do with this around this Agile initiative, right? Like, people get like really upset and they argue and they argue. Arguing is not about collaboration. Agile is about collaboration. In high collaboration environments, there is no arguing. There's respectful listening. Oh, what's your perspective? Great, thank you. And we listen. And you say, oh, would you like to hear my perspective? Oh, of course I would. Yeah, here's my perspective. Oh, well, what are the other people's perspectives? Okay, great. What should we do about it? Oh, we could do this, we could do that. It's really calm and cool and collected when we really know how to collaborate. But we don't. The truth is we're often terrible collaborators, even people who teach collaboration. I taught collaboration and did exercises with people for years until I finally admitted I suck at collaboration. I'm a terrible collaborator. And I said, well, wait a second, I want to be a good team member. I'm telling people to be good team members and collaborate. I need to learn how to be a good collaborator, a good team member. And I worked on it. And I worked through my charges so I could show up that way. And I could actually walk the talk. I'll share another quote. Has anyone read this book, In Everyone Culture? Basically, it says this. I'll read this quote, then I'll explain it. Get to the other side. This is a case study of 3 extremely high-performing organizations. Get to the other side. It's a Bridgewater phrase for working through ego defenses, neutralizing the sting of having your mindset questioned, and coming to actively manage forms of emotional self-protection that would otherwise be barriers to personal growth. Because learning from one's mistakes is a job requirement. The very first line of the Agile Manifesto, we're uncovering better ways of building software, building products. It points to the Agile Manifesto being about building a learning culture. Well, what does it take to be building a learning culture? It's not about just the process. It's about learning about ourselves. So unless we overcome our ego defenses, unless we are emotionally well regulated, we are not really good learners. So this is a mandatory thing if you want to live the Agile mindset. You actually not just want to do Agile, but be Agile. It takes personal work because we're not set up from birth to be Agile. We're set up from birth to do other kinds of things. So this is a great case study of what it's some really high performance organizations, and it has some traces of how leaders need to show up. So I just wanted to share that one quote for you. So essentially what we're inviting you to is what we call Wave 2 of Agile. Wave 1 is about the concepts, the ideas. It's about talking about the ideas and the doing, but not living or being Agile fully. Wave 2 is about us fully being Agile. It's about living the manifesto in every interaction with every person in our personal life and our professional life 24/7. Every day, every week, day in, day out. When we can do that, then only at that point can we say, yeah, I'm really living in an Agile way. Only at that point, and as we develop this in ourselves, can we really help organizations move to an Agile way of being. And working through emotions is the key to this, right? We talk a lot more about how to do this in very practical terms, in terms of how do we move an organizational system to high performance in our certified Agile leadership training. That's why Audree and here, we're doing one this week. We're back in October. We're here regularly. So that's where we do the practical, how do we get Agile working, right? This is like the sort of the side, not the side, but the underneath part that's required to make it all work. The other thing is we have this next week is the beautiful state, which is talking about the same thing, about how do we show up in a very resourced way so we can actually live the Agile mindset. And instead of coming in from an emotional perspective, we actually come in from a very deep psychological perspective. Do you want to say more about it?
Yeah, so what we're talking about here is that there's only two states of being that we live in. If you think about this, we're either in a stressful state or we're in a non-stressful state. There are no other,
Yeah.
right? There's no third state. And so what we're doing here is we're helping to identify when we're in these stressful states and how to become resourceful so we can show up in a really healthy way and leave the stressful state to the side, because the stressful state causes a lot of damage. There's a lot of science behind stressful states and aging and ill health and bad relationships and all kinds of things. So that's what we're really talking about here.
Yeah, so for getting this deeper understanding of Agile mindset, certainly people get a lot of those experiences and aha moments about how they're actually operating in non-Agile ways in our certified Agile leadership training. But if you want to get the skinny of how to shift your emotions, it's in the book. We invite you to go get that if you want more details. You already have a very practical take home that you can just use as is. If you want to get the deeper thing of your ego and what's going on there and how these much deeper structures that are blocking success, that's what this is for. So now we'll take questions, just how to stay in touch, connect on LinkedIn, Twitter. There's a free Agile Culture book download. This is my existing culture book. There's a new one coming out hopefully later this year, which has all the stuff we can only give in our Cal training right now. There's a lot of stuff that I've written in blog posts that's up on our website. You're welcome to come to a training of any kind and consulting, coaching, and so on. So with this, we'll turn it over to questions. What questions do you have?
I hope the answer is no, by the way. So my question is there any evidence that shows once we learn to manage our negative emotions, we will naturally distance ourselves from our positive emotions as well, and maybe enjoy them a bit less, if that makes sense?
You want to take that one?
I hope it's no.
No.
Good.
I spend a lot of time meditating with people in very high states of consciousness, and in that respect, I can say that your emotions start to go away. There's a thing called bliss that will start to happen. That's not an emotion, but that's a whole other.
It does feel really good, and it's like it's something a bit different that goes beyond emotions.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Other questions?
Yeah, we're not trying to get you to be emotionless. We want you to be happy and healthy, and we want you to have amazing relationships, both at home and at work. And so we're trying to mitigate that. Yeah.
When you're doing the Get Clear practice, do you rotate through different emotions? So you practice against different feelings?
So it's not, you're going through one situation at a time.
I mean, on a day-by-day basis.
Yeah. So okay, for me, I did this practice every morning. I took 10 minutes out of my day, and when I started developing this, I was moving from Chicago to California, and I had a lot of fear. So I just worked with the sensation of fear, where it was like a feeling in my chest. And it took a while. It took like a good 2 weeks for me to actually move to a place where I was not feeling or having a sensation of fear. So it all depends on what you're working on. And so that's why we recommend doing the practice, because then you get in a regular habit. You could move through something very easily and that's not so intense very quickly within 10 minutes. Or it might take the next day you have to work on the same thing, the next day you work on the same thing, and it depends on the individual. And it's something that you'd want to, some help with too, that you definitely reach out.
I'll make a share, which is like if something goes on during the day, like I'm in a meeting, I'm at work, whatever, something's going on, I'm training, and something comes up for me that I can't deal with right now, I'll make a mental book note of it. It's like, oh yeah, that happened, this is what came up. So that way later in the day, I can unpack and I go, okay, I'm gonna revisit that situation, bring myself to that situation, which brings me back to that past memory and that charge. And so basically, as a way we can use it to clean up, right? We can use it to scan. Instead of shying away from the pain, we bring our attention, we go into the pain. That's how we can clean up these blocks that are preventing us from showing up fully resourced all the time, from living the life we want.
And then we have an agreement in our relationship where if something like that is happening, he can say, you know what, I'm having an emotional charge right now, I need to step away.
Yeah.
But you can't do that at work. People think you're
well,
nuts,
yeah.
right?
I mean, if you're working in a high-performance environment where everyone did that,
right.
in your team, where you have an agreement of like everyone is emotionally literate to this level, you say, hey, I'm an emotional charge right now, I need to take a time out. And everyone goes like, oh, cool, thank you. Oh my God, thank you so much. Because that means they don't have to deal with you anymore. You're taking responsibility for your emotional state. If you have a team environment where everyone's doing this together, you are going to grow like crazy because you're in a safe, supported environment where everyone's like, oh, you got an emotional charge? Okay, it's okay, right? Or like, Audrey, I got a charge around this. It's not you. It's not right now.
Still bothers me.
Right? Yeah. It's like, I need to go, I'm just going to go, because I can't engage right now effectively, right? You know, so when we have that, it creates a space for incredible growth. Yeah, there was a question at the back, I think, yes?
So there's a few things. A few things are that when you do this for yourself and somebody else is in an emotional reaction, you understand what's going on with them. You might not be able to help them, but you have more compassion and empathy and enough resilience in your own being that you show up in a different way for them. You can actually hold them in that space.
Yeah. Yeah, so I yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, so yeah, I'm going to answer. The question is, what do you do if you're in a situation where you can't take 10 minutes to get clear? Like, you're in the situation that keeps on flowing, you know you're in a charge. That's where the top part of the checklist is really useful. You say, oh, I'm feeling this right now. Is there anything in the situation right now? No, it's not right now. It's from the past. So responding to this person in this situation right now from this charge is just going to cause damage, right? And you might say a lot less than you normally would. And if you say less and cause less damage, That's a win compared to where you were when you said something or you reacted and you created damage. So you'll be able to respond more resourcefully just using the top part. It may not get you fully clear of it, but you'll be able to respond more resourcefully.
Right, and it's the willingness and the commitment to your own work and your own process that over time it'll subside.
Okay, so we'll take maybe 2 more questions because I know we're at time. Yes?
I just wanted to touch on the psychological safety element of it, and I've always perceived that, thought about that as being the kind of the entire environment around you, and trying to create that with people around you.
Yeah.
With the way I was sort of interpreting some of the stuff you were saying, it's like your own personal psychological safety environment. Have I misinterpreted?
No. This is perfect. She's talking about psychological safety. Well, she said she understood psychological safety is what we want to create for everyone. If we create a psychologically safe environment, they'll perform better, right? That's true. And what we're saying is also true, that psychological safety is actually an internal variable. When people do things around us to make us feel more safe, it makes it easier to feel more safe, right? But ultimately, it's this internal thing that's the limit. Even if we do everything we can to create psychological safety, guess what? People are going to talk to each other. People are going to trigger each other. It's normal, right? And so ultimately the limit, and this is where we go through with this book, unless people are agreeing to say, yes, I'm ready to grow as a human being, you're not going to get to high performance. Usually you want to create safety to create high performance, right? And that's the sort of like it's helpful, it's supportive. But ultimately getting high performance is each of us creating psychological safety inside of ourselves so that we operate as a theory-wide worker no matter what is happening around us. This is what we see as leaders of teal organizations. They have such a high level of inner confidence and inner security. I'll quote Ricardo Semler. He says, no matter what's going on around me, I just felt really comfortable and safe. I didn't require any courage. And I thought no matter what the problem was, we'll just figure it out somehow. And that's my aspiration, that every moment, if I just show up like that, then I'll know, when I get there, I'll know I'm operating like a teal leader. I know I'm operating like a high performance leader, and I can really fully invite people to this way of working. Right? So that's where it's really the inner psychological safety. External psychological safety is really just supporting people, kind of like giving them a safer environment so there are less things to trigger them, right? But ultimately, it's the inner work that counts. So last question here. I can't hear you. You're going to need to stand up, speak louder. Right. Do you want to comment on this?
Yeah. So our recommendation is that you do this for yourself first. You have your own self-mastery. It's only then that you can coach somebody else. And then yes, you can, definitely.
Yeah.
And it works really, really well because you don't have to go into stories. You stop blaming, or the other person stops blaming. You're teaching somebody how to take responsibility for their own life. Yeah. But please, don't do it until you have your own mastery.
Yeah. Again, this is not for you to help others with this. Hey, you're in a charge right now. No. Please don't do that.
Yeah. This
is about you to go, oh, I'm in a charge right now. What do I want to do about it? Or, oh, this other person's in a charge, and that's bringing me into a charge. Oh my gosh, I'm in a charge now because they're upset about something. Now I'm upset too, or whatever else it is, right? And take responsibility for your emotions, right? Not try to fix them, right? All right. Thank you so much, everyone.